sounded so pleasant about that place. Even your emotion had an echo in so much space. And when you out there without care, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know, you know. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly.
Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are well. Hope you had a fantastic weekend and you're ready for a brand new day. Thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to spend a few moments with me here on SML TV. A few shout outs before we begin. Hello there. Hey, everybody. Hey, Eddie, I see you. Good morning to you. I'm going to try and keep this as brief as possible. How are you? Good to see you. Hello. Oh, that's so sweet. John, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Angela White Jackson. Who is that? Now, I'm nearsighted, so you got to remember that. Hey, how are you? What are you saying there? All right. Okay. All right. There's Angela White Jackson's there. We got a Facebook user that says good morning. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much. Guys, I'll be very brief and very quick today. Throw this up there so that we're on the same page. I'd like to, for a few moments, use as a subject, talking to you for a few moments this morning, the lies that Chilufya Tayali spins. Now, for those of you that do not know who Chilufya Tayali is, he's an agitator. He's someone that I would equate to a spanner in the works. Ever heard of that phrase, a spanner in the works? You know, when you open the hood of a car, and then you've got all the bits and pieces that are functioning. And then all of a sudden you take a spanner and you throw it in there, it discombobulates the whole functionality of the engine. Well, Chilufya Tayali is a spanner in the works. He's someone that you throw in a situation and everything becomes discombobulated, confused, chaos and all. He claims to be a political leader. Really, truthfully speaking, he's a one-man show. And his political ideology is rooted in self-preservation. Ooh, that's a good one there, boy. See, some of these, they just come to me. You know, I don't plan this stuff. But let me say that again. He's a political agitator whose ideology is rooted in self-preservation. In other words, what he says has everything to do with his survival. And he shrouds it, he camouflages it in this false mirage of patriotism. He'll turn around and say, no, I love this country. But really, what he loves is the idea of self-preservation. As long as he survives, then he's okay. Well, that's not true patriotism. It's not. And it's got nothing to do with patriotism. So really, what Chilufya Tayali does is that he uses platforms like Facebook, and he's done so for many, many years. And he's an agitator. You know, he comes up with the most outlandish stories. He will spin a story, a narrative, that will mislead you to the point where you begin to question. And the reason he's able to do that is because his voice is consistent on social media. I want you to get that. and this is the power of social media. Anytime you have a voice that is constantly talking, constantly speaking, there are people that listen to that. Now, imagine if the voice is speaking lies, is spinning lies. That voice becomes dangerous. I want you to get that. I want you to get it. Tayali has told many lies, but I will highlight 3 lies. The first one, you remember Vespers. And I know I get a lot of flack from people that say, no, Mwewa, don't talk about Vespers. Well, we have to talk about her because she is a key component to the point that I'm trying to make. And it's disingenuous and it's naive of you to say to me, don't talk about her. We have to talk about her. Tayali, Vespers, you remember Vespers was a University of Zambia student, a young female student. Unfortunately, she was killed in a series of events that led to her ultimate death. You know, the police were called to the University of Zambia. There was a bit of ruckus there. And the police, in an effort to contain the situation, they tear gassed Vespers' room, and she died in her room. Tayali came up and said, well, the reason Vespers died is because she belonged to the UPND. What he was saying was, had she not been a member of the party that was headed by Hakainde Hichilema, Vespers would not have died. That was his assertion. Lies. He just spun it. And he spun this lie at a time when the whole nation was mourning. And I say this to show you the insensitivity of Chilufya Tayali. At a time when the nation's tempers were high, at a time when Vespers' family was grieving, at a time when Vespers' kin were in a state of grief, Tayali stands up and he says, Vespers died because she belonged to UPND. Lies. Insensitive. The other lie that Chilufya came up with was Hakainde's land. Remember when Mr. Hichilema was in the opposition? Chilufya Tayali took it upon himself. He said, I'm going to make sure that this man, Hakainde Hichilema, does not appear on the ballot because he acquired land dubiously. Chilufya went on a campaign that was funded, aided by the PF. All of his efforts were funded by the PF. And he went on this crusade to discredit Hakainde Hichilema. He asserted that Hakainde somehow obtained this land dubiously. Mr. Hichilema was asked about this issue. He explained it crystal clearly. But because Tayali was so blinded by 2 things, the money that he was paid by PF to slander HH, and his personal disdain and hatred for Hakainde Hichilema. These 2 things fueled his desire to destroy a man for no reason at all. That passed. When Hakainde Hichilema, nothing came of that land issue because there was nothing there. Hakainde got that land legally. He got it fairly. And that was clear for all to see. And he dealt with that. He answered that question. That issue was settled. But Tayali didn't stop there. He didn't stop there. Tayali, when Hakainde Hichilema became president, something that Tayali vowed would never happen, as if it was up to him. Tayali once said that as over my dead body, Hakainde Hichilema will never be the president. Tayali said that if Hakainde Hichilema becomes a president, that you can cut off my member. And that's putting it mildly. Chilufya traversed this city, moving to and fro on the face of the earth like the devil. And he would constantly say, Hakainde Hichilema will never become president as long as I'm alive, he said. But the Zambian people had a different view. The Zambian people said, no, the cornerstone that you have rejected is the one we want. The Zambian people spoke. They spoke in unison, and they spoke clearly. They spoke loudly. And then Tayali came, he started a new campaign. This campaign here, where he constantly calls HH a dictator. Now, I want you to understand something, and I want you to get this. See, the more you tell a lie, the more people believe it. I want you to get that. I want that to sink in your spirit. Let that sizzle in your heart for a moment. The more you tell a lie, I don't care what it's about, the more you keep saying the sky is green, the more you say it, you'll find that some people will start saying, well, you know what? That sky does look a little green, you know. The more you tell a lie, the more people believe it. Tayali's on a campaign to call the head of state a dictator. What is a dictator? What is a dictator? A dictator is a tyrant. I'll give you a few examples of dictators. Idi Amin of Uganda was a dictator, a man that killed his people arbitrarily, a man that placed his nation under intense fear. Amin was a dictator. Pol Pot of Cambodia was a dictator, a man that killed multiplicity of multitudinous tens of millions of his people. Pol Pot of the Khmer Rouge was a dictator. Lastly, the personification of dictators, Adolf Hitler, who went on a crusade and a campaign to kill more than 6 million Jews in the Holocaust. A man that said that when he was done, the Jewish people would be nothing but a rumor. Adolf was a dictator. How dare Tayali call HH a dictator? You can say it's more accurate to say that I disagree with HH. That's accurate. But to come up and stand up and call a man like HH a dictator, you are not only being disingenuous, you are not only being dishonest, you are exaggerating. You are augmenting what is not there. And so now, last night, Tayali, over the last couple of days, has been implying, linking the head of state to the gassings. Remember the gassings, the episode during the gassings? Well, Tayali asserts that HH funded those activities. Can you believe that? Tayali says that HH funded domestic terrorism. Now, to some of you, you may dismiss that as someone that is a product of a deranged mind. Some of you will dismiss that and say, oh, Tayali's just talking rubbish. But let me tell you, those seeds of deception that fall on fertile ground can germinate into chaos. Ooh, that's a good one there, boy. I'm telling you now. So you got to cut the head of that snake, that serpent, that slew foot of lies. Lop its head off. And the only way to do that, sometimes, is to do what needs to be done. And you know what I'm talking about. Now, the other day, I heard him say, and this is when you know, this is when you see the cracks. Okay? I mean, the cracks have always been there. You must understand that things that you see on social media are not always what they seem to be. The other day, he was ranting and raving, because what is the word? What is the passage of scripture that says there's I forget what it is now. Something like the more you speak, the more mistakes you make. The more you just talk, in the multitude of your talking. Tell me in the comments. Remind me. I forget the scripture that says that. What is the scripture that says that? Something about if you talk too much. If you talk too much in your talking, you'll say something out of turn. You'll make a mistake. You'll make a lethal, fatal verbal mistake that you will not be able to recover from. Why? Because you talk too much. You yap too much. Loose lips sink ships. And the looser the lips are, the faster the ship sink, honey. That's an old Flip Wilson song. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. In the abundance of words, sin is not missing. Thank you, Anthony. Go on, every few minutes, why is alive? 40 minutes, mulya mwine mukulanda mulya wala lufyanya bantu naula bati uyulela poyo a head of state. On top of that, we've got cyber laws now that you have to be wary of, you have to be careful of. You can't just say whatever the hell you want. Come on. So in the abundance of words, sin is not missing. HH is the one that sponsored domestic terrorism. Nonsense. And then the other day he was live, and then he said, I don't care about my family. I would rather stand for Zambia than my wife. Even if my wife left me today, he said, I would marry another woman. Let me tell you something about women when it comes to vlogging. Our wives don't like it when you make a spectacle out of ourselves. When we make spectacles out of ourselves, they don't like it. And then here it is, she's married to some lunatic that rants, raves, and bops every chance he gets. She will get tired of those antics. She will get tired and weary of those displays of foolishness and buffoonery. Are you hearing me? So here it is now. Tayali he's between a rock and a hard place. He's in a bad space right now. And it's all self-inflicted. All of it. And one would ask the question, well, what's Tayali fighting for? Nothing, just his self-preservation. And that's the truth. It's got nothing to do with patriotism. It's got nothing to do with checks and balances. It's got nothing to do with the rule of law. It's got nothing to do with the upholding the Constitution. It's got nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with self-preservation, selfishness. That's what it is. 30 pieces of silver. Tayali will betray you and sell you up the river for 30 pieces of silver. Tayali is the personification of Judas Iscariot. A Benedict Arnold, a jackal, a hyena, a snake in the grass. Reminds me of that old song. 30 pieces of silver was the price they paid. 30 pieces of silver was the price of a slave. I gave my heart to Jesus, the one that they betrayed. 30 pieces of silver was the price they paid. Tayali was given 30 pieces of silver from the PF to do their bidding. And now he's in trouble. Kosamune, you're not in Kansas anymore. Thanks for listening. God bless. Bye.